Hi everyone, as you can see I've got my little helper here with me today because what I thought I'd do is talk about... No? Hi everyone! So as you've probably seen from our YouTube page, there is a strong theme of strawberries, and that's because Adelaide, who's casually sat here telling me to shush and colouring in, are you having fun, Addi?
Yeah.
Good!
Wow.
Good! She's got brown and black are her two favourite colours to colour things in with, which is fantastic because we have white walls. So Adelaide has a strawberry mark. Now she wasn't born with it, but I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about what happened and how it came about and how we dealt with it as parents. So basically, when Adelaide was born, it was pretty traumatic to say the least. I was extremely lucky through my pregnancy. I only had like one problem per trimester. Whether it be headaches through the first, and then I had troubles with my pelvis in the second, and then in the third I just ballooned and struggled with rashes. But that being said, I had a relatively good pregnancy and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being pregnant. But then I got to 41 weeks and went into labour whilst watching RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, the finale, when Trixie Mattel won. And there was not a hope in hell of me missing that. So I was sort of sat there having contractions and dealing with the pain just so I could see who won. But then I noticed that the contractions started coming on really thick and fast, and it was almost like I'd been hit by a freight train. So we called the hospital, who had told us to sort of sit tight and wait. It was very early on for me to be worrying about actually going into labour, but then it got to a point where I thought, oh God, this is actually happening now. I'm in so much pain. So we went to the hospital and they did some tests and they found that I actually had preeclampsia, which hadn't been diagnosed. Oh, are you okay? Oh, your orange is gone. Oh no, shall we leave those out of the cup?
Yes.
Yeah, good, you've got your chocolate milk there as well. So, yeah, I actually had undiagnosed preeclampsia, and there is no way I should have gone to 41 weeks pregnant. In fact, I was 9 days overdue, so just over 41 days. And it was basically this child needs to come out of you now because you're both in danger. And within a couple of hours of me being at the hospital, I think, I actually went into full-blown labour. After half an hour of pushing, Addi was here, and she was tiny. She was 4 pounds, 14 and a half ounces, which is 2.2 kilograms. So she was just dinky, and she almost looked grey when she was born, and there was no crying. So obviously my heart stopped. And the three things I asked were, first off, is she okay? Yes. Is she definitely a she? Yes. Have I got any tears? No. So that was fantastic. But yeah, so she was basically overdue. So she had the peely skin and everything that overdue babies do because they're overcooked. And then she was so tiny that she had to be treated like a premature baby. So it was a really odd situation. And then I ended up getting an infection because we weren't sure when my waters had broken, and that can be very dangerous. Have you put chocolate milk in your cup? Having a whale of a time. Yeah, so we ended up staying in hospital for 3 days. And this was when the beast from the east was there, so it was really snowy. So it was a bit touch and go as to whether Ash could actually come and be with me. But anyway, I digress. So the being overdue, the being premature, and fast births all can have something to do with strawberry marks. They're not confirmed to be linked, but they're believed to be linked, if that makes sense. because there's not really much that people know about strawberry marks, from what I was told anyway. Then that it may be different now, but when Adelaide was born and when we discovered it, we were told that they're a bit of an anomaly, really. So when Addi was born, she didn't have any form of mark, just a stalk mark on the back of her neck like her dad, which is really sweet. So she's got a matching birthmark to him. But she was fine. After the 3 days we came home, everything was all well and good. And then after 2 weeks, we noticed this tiny little red dot just here. And we thought she just nicked herself. Like little babies, they have sharp talons that they like to catch you with and catch their faces with, which is why they have mitts. But Adelaide hated those, obviously, because she's Adelaide. And there was a little red dot just there. So we sort of just thought it was a scratch. And then I remember it being Easter Sunday, and we went round to my family's house. Ooh, tasty chocolate. We went round to she doesn't just eat chocolate all the time. She has got apples here as well. It just happens to be the chocolate milk and the Kinder bar that go first. So yeah, we went round to my family's house for Easter dinner, and we noticed that it had sort of gone into a line above the dot. So we were a bit like, well, if she'd scratched herself, why is it growing? So we kept an eye. Everybody just assumed it would be a scratch. And then by 2 months, she actually had a full-blown mass above her eye. So like, I don't know, Addi, can we see your face, please?
No, Mama.
Well, she's very protective of her face, obviously. But she had a really dark red mass, and it was edging over to her eye. So I was really concerned about that. So we got it checked out. And we were just told it's just one of those things. There's not much you can do about it. It'll just disappear. Because what happens with strawberry marks apparently is they grow really fast, they stay there for a bit, and then they just start to disappear. Sometimes they can disappear as quickly as they appear. But most of the time, I think it's between 6 and 10 years old is when they fully disappear. So we were like, fine, that's cool. We just had to make sure that she had more sun cream on that part of her face whenever we went in the sun, just because it was more sensitive. And we just carried on about it. There was nothing underneath to be pushing any pressure towards her eyes, so that was fine. So as a parent, it's a really odd situation to be in, because you love your child no matter what. They're the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And nothing like that ever bothers you. You look past it. It's not even there in your eyes. But there is also the concern of, when she gets older, is she going to be bullied? And you know that you shouldn't feel that way, because people should just be accepting of who people are. But it doesn't always work like that. And we all know that children don't have filters. So I was concerned of her being at school and children not really knowing what was going on and asking questions, and Adelaide feeling uncomfortable with it. So it became a bit of a concern for me that people might look at her differently just because she has a red mark on her forehead. Which I know I shouldn't have felt, but you can't help yourself from feeling certain things. It's just one of those things. But after a while, just got used to it. I pushed that to one side, didn't think about it. And yeah, she just was Adelaide, and she looked adorable. It was almost like someone had given her a kiss on the forehead. And I remember one of my friends compared her to Harry Potter and said it was like her own little Harry Potter thing, or like an angel had kissed her. And I just kept thinking that, thought it was really sweet. And it made her special, really special. And obviously now she's our little strawberry. And at that time as well, it was quite funny because clothes that came out had strawberries all over them. There was like a big boom in strawberry clothes. But it became a real struggle for me when we went out. You found that there'd be questions of, what's that on her head? Has she hit her head? What have you done to her? Is she hurt? And you'd have to explain over and over again that it was just a strawberry mark. I remember once someone questioning me if it was a rash and trying to tell me what to do about it, or a skin tag. Someone told me to put fishing wire around it and pull it off, and I was just like, no. And I also remember there was a time we went to the walking centre. Adelaide had a high temperature, and it was just getting worse, and she wasn't eating. So we took her to the doctors, and the nurse that was on call at that point, he brought us in, and the first thing he said was, "Oh, what's wrong with you then?" and pointed to her strawberry mark, assuming that was why we were there. And I said, well, that's her strawberry mark. That's just part of Adelaide. That's not why we're here. And he made a comment about her being odd. And I nearly walked out of the room. There was other things said in that conversation as well, which were horrible, to the point where he actually ended up apologising to me at the end of the consultation because he made me cry. How many times can you sort of push the negativity to the back of your mind when even a medical professional is making comments on it? And it only made me worry more about how people would be around Adelaide when she was a bit older with this, when she was at school at nursery. I think the worst part about it all was the looks and silence and people staring at Adelaide. And these are grown people. These are adults who should know better than to stare at a child like that. Bearing in mind she was a couple of months old. I remember once we were shopping and two men walked past her, and as they were walking towards us, they were looking at her like she was something that they'd scraped off of their shoe. And they tutted and shook their head at her. And I just don't understand it. I just don't understand the logic behind someone doing that to a child. It just baffles me. And let's be honest, it's literally just a red mark in the middle of her eyes. It's not even like...
Mummy.
I just don't understand. It's such a tiny little thing, yet people just couldn't accept her for how she was. You got some chunk chunk. Thank you.
Mummy, you mad?
I love you. Hug? No. Oh. Okay.
Oh.
So as I was saying, it was more adults that there was an issue with, and I just don't understand that mentality. It really made me think about my actions and who I was as a person, whether I was judgmental, whether I'd ever made anybody feel bad about the way that they were. Yeah? Ooh, thank you.
Mama.
Good job, Adelaide. Thank you.
Mama.
No, I'm okay, thank you. I don't need any more. Adelaide, drink it. Good girl. So yeah, it had me thinking about my actions and how I was around people and whether I'd ever been judgmental or I'd ever made anybody feel bad about something about themselves. So it really is a learning curve. Because Adelaide is the most beautiful little girl. She's incredible. And her smile is just fantastic. And I couldn't understand why people couldn't look past that. And you know what? I was concerned about children while she was at school, and I literally had nothing to worry about, because it was children who were just genuinely saying, oh, Adelaide bumped her head, or oh, poor baby bumped her head. And they were concerned. They were actually concerned more than judging her, or they just didn't mention it at all. They just took her for who she was. I remember once I was talking to someone, I was in a coffee shop and they had their grandchild with them. I think she must have been about 3. And we were sat talking and she asked, oh, what's that there? So I actually ended up convincing this toddler that Adelaide was a baby unicorn, and she simply was just waiting for her unicorn horn to grow through. So that just ended up being... Oh dear. Yeah, so that just ended up being a running joke that Adelaide was just a baby unicorn waiting for her horn to grow in. But yeah, so Adelaide's now 2. Her strawberry mark's pretty much skin colour, but she just has the bump of where it is. And I kind of miss it now. I guess the moral of it is, if your child has a strawberry mark, embrace it. It's not something to be frowned upon. It's something to embrace and love about them, and it makes them extra special. And for those people that like to stare and make comments at things that don't look normal in their eyes, why? Because it doesn't affect you. It's not something that you have to live with. So why do you have to make a comment? It's something that you can walk away from and not bother with again. So just think. And I think that also comes with people on social media, on anything. I feel like it's so easy to make a flyaway comment when you're not thinking about the effect that it has on someone else. You're not thinking about the effect that it has on the person you're making it about. And I'm so glad that Adelaide is the age that she is, because she's not going to remember any of that. But it's always something that I kind of keep here and here, just to learn from. So I think I'm going to end the video there. Adelaide was going to be in it more, but she was happier just munching on some apple and some chocolate milk. So I think I'm going to go put her down for a nap now and let her rest. And yeah, thank you for listening to me. And I hope you all have a lovely day.